This is Lacey Everett here with Minds in Motion dance series. Today's guest is Lonni Olson, who is a super fearless dancer. One of her most recent projects is a body image dance, and it was touching, and it just gave me the chills. And we're going to be talking about that and her process through it. If you are struggling with body image issues, I would watch this. We have a great discussion about that, overcoming body image issues and how to accept your body. Lonni also talks about authenticity psychology and how important it is to be authentic, and gives examples of being authentic, and answers the question of why is authenticity important? I'm really stoked for you guys to watch it, and if this impacts you, please send it to other people. And don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel so I can continue making these videos for you. Hi, Lonni. Hi, I am so happy to see you.
I know, it's been too long.
I know. So I wanted to start because you are a go-getter. You are a dance machine, Lonni. And I am so proud of you. I really am, Lon. Like, to see how far you've come in the dance world, and just as the person you are. Before we were talking for a while, I'm really proud of you, Lon. And you're a great. Yes, you're a great friend and person and phenomenal dancing machine. It's insane. Like, you'll be like in the air and then on the ground and then over there. It's insane. So I'm like, yes, I'm like, we have to have tips from her. You say in your life kind of motto is authenticity is key. Mm-hmm. And I thought we could talk about authenticity psychology, or if you have examples of being authentic, or why being authentic is important.
Yeah, I think like first is like it's way easier said than done. Like to be your authentic, genuine self. Like everybody says it, like, you know what I mean? But to actually live it is so hard, especially like in our society and in social media world and like everything. So I think it actually like, I honestly like never even started to like live by the word, I guess, until like I like moved away from home, and I wasn't like reliant really on my parents. And, you know, you have to like find yourself, and it's honestly like the worst, like the best and worst part of your life, right? Because you have to like figure it out, but then you're like pulled in so many different directions. So I don't even know if you know this, but I have that tattooed on me.
I didn't know that.
It says authenticity on my right here. And and a lot of people don't know that because it's like really small, but that's probably going to be read backwards, right? But
probably.
It's
proof.
It's proof. Yeah, it's hard to like find it. And for me, I think it's okay to be influenced by things. And I think people think that being authentic and genuine is not being influenced by things, but like we're all human. So like no matter what, even subconsciously, you're influenced by the people you're around, by signs and like everything around you. But then people take being like genuine and authentic as not that. And I'm like, but that's what makes you who you are. Like being influenced by things and people is what builds you to be like your authentic self. But there's like the fine line of like copying and just doing it because other people are doing it and because it's like a trend and like things are cool, you know what I mean? Which we all fall into. We all fall into the cute, even just like clothing trends or like hair trends. Like we do it. And like I think if we like come to terms with that, it's like okay. But then to like not let it change who you are, I think that's where you can like find your authenticity. Do you know what I mean? Like where you can take like a trend or take something, love it. If you love it, great, that's fine. But then like don't let it change you. Do you know what I mean? And I think it's the hardest part is social media. Like I have a love-hate relationship with it for like my work and for like dance. Of course, it's helped me so much. Like it's helped me grow and meet new people, and of course, but when it comes to like everyday life, you have everybody, I feel like everyone I've talked to, you have like the like, I share too much, I share too little. Why am I supposed to share this? Why am I not supposed to share this? And the other day I actually did like a random poll on Instagram, and it was like, it was so random. I was like, I want to know, like, why do people post like and stuff? And the people that like responded were so honest. And like some people were saying they wanted validation and like all this stuff. And I was like, just thinking, I'm like, I don't, that's not authentic to me. I'm like, if the only validation I care, like genuinely care about, is like my close friends and family. And I think when we start putting validation in strangers that don't know any part of your life, that's where it gets a little bit unauthentic, because we're just like posting and like doing things for honestly others and not even for yourself. You know what I mean? And so I don't know, I like have the love-hate relationship with it. And I think that we all need to remember that it's a highlight reel. Everybody says that, you know, it is. At the end of the day, you're not going to share yourself like, I don't know, like crying, like, you know what I mean? Like everybody doesn't want to do that. But I think there's like the happy medium of that, because I think you almost relate to people more if they're more just like them, like themselves.
Real.
Yeah, and they're real, and they're like, oh, you're human, like you cry too, like that's great. You know what I mean?
Yes. It's really nice, Lon, that you kind of created this little science experiment for yourself on
Oh, I
Instagram
did.
and got people to do that. And it's crazy that they were that honest too about
I know.
saying, yes, it's true. I want to be validated. I need other
Yeah,
people to tell me if I'm good or bad. And
yeah.
that can be so detrimental.
And it's like, it's almost like society's made that like okay in a way.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like,
Yes.
what? Like, I don't know. It's so weird. And do not get me wrong. Do I sometimes post things and I'm like, oh my God, I thought this was great and no one likes it? Do I get my head? Of course. But then I like always am just like, I'll immediately, if I start thinking that way, I just put my phone down. I'm like, I can't do it. Like, I personally limit my time on like social media and like the comparing, we all compare and whatnot. So, like, all of that obviously is hard, being like your authentic self. But I think one of the biggest things that helped me, and actually the reason like I got this tattoo and everything, was because this was so random, and I was like listening to the like XM radio, and the guy was talking about how like the word selfish is a negative toxic word, and or he says that's like what people think it is, but at the end of the day, like being selfish is not necessarily like bad. And like I don't even know why this, like I was just driving and I was like, wait, what? Because like I don't know, I felt like I was always grown up, like people would always just be like, you're selfish, like the way they said it, I was like, oh, I can't be that, like
Yes, it has a negative connotation to it. I feel like deep thoughts always happen when you're driving. Those are the
yeah,
best times
yes.
for realization.
But so yeah, I was like thinking about that and I was like, wait, yeah, like why is that negative? Because then people are always like, take time for yourself, but then be selfless. But you can't be selfish and only think about yourself. And I'm just like, oh my God, like again, so many like things. Yeah. So then I just like, honestly, like this one day I was like, wow, okay, I don't even remember what I was doing. I was teaching or something and it just stuck in my head. And then the next day I was like, I'm going to be selfish today. I was like, I'm going to do everything I want to do. Like I'm the most indecisive person you will ever meet in your entire life. Like ever meet. I usually can go with the flow and I'm just like, didn't like, if you ask me what I want to eat, I'll just be like, whatever you want. Like, and I know it's like kind of like I need to work on that. Like I need to be a little bit more decisive. But I was like, you know what? Today I'm going to do whatever I want to do, like whatever. And I was even like seeing people and like whatever at like when we could, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I was even like with friends and everything. And I honestly like made all these decisions. And at the end of the day, I was like thinking about it and I was like, wait, I literally just had the best day and it didn't affect anybody else. Nobody else was like sad or mad or anything. I just always thought like, okay, if I make a decision, if I do what I want to, like, it will affect others. And I'm like, at the end of the day, actually, it really won't. Like, obviously there's a line, of course, But I think once I realized that like taking care of myself was such a big part in life, like, I don't know, I was just like, oh my God, like I can take care of myself while finding myself. And that helped me a lot in finding like being who my most like authentic self. Like I don't, to this day, like I don't feel like I need to impress people, because at the end of the day they either like me and they get along with me, and like they don't. And that's the other thing, like you don't have to like everybody. I think you have to be kind to everybody and like compassionate, but like you don't have to like everybody, you know what I mean?
Yes.
I think that helped me a lot, where once I accepted that, and I was such, and I still am, like in the back of my mind, like a people pleaser, like for sure. Like I really am. But I was also just like slowly realizing, I'm like, I'm putting myself out there and pleasing this person when it's not reciprocated for me. And that was changing who I was, because I was just doing it. Like at that point where like I shouldn't have been. Do you know what I mean? So I think it's really, I really wish I like found even just like the word like of authenticity like earlier in my life. Like I didn't, like I was probably like 19 by the time, you know what I mean? 18, 19, where I was like, oh, like I can take care of myself. And it does come with your moving out, and now you have to like, you're not dependent on your parents anymore and stuff like that. But I just wish, like, even when I teach and stuff, I just wish like I tell my kids, I'm like, you guys have to like find it now. Like, don't wait 10 years. Obviously, you're going to grow and change, but I'm like, you can start figuring out who you are, like, without comparing yourself and trying to be like the coolest TikToker and like Instagrammer and like, which all the kids, like, that's all they do. And they compare themselves. And even when they start like talking about it, I'll literally be like, stop. Like, you need to stop, because like, it's not you, you know what I mean? Or if it's you, that's great. But you can tell when somebody's like doing something because everyone else is.
Because yes.
Because they love it. You know what I mean? And I think, again, I'm not perfect at this. Like, I work on it every single day. You can be selfish and selfless. Like, you can be that in a positive way. It's not bad to take care of yourself as much. My whole thing too is like, I want to put as much energy into myself that I do into other people, which I feel like a lot of people don't.
Yes. So Lonni, you're going to get a kick out of this. There's research, because I'm part of our research right now in school is about compassion therapy and treating ourselves nicely.
Yeah.
And the whole thing is treat yourself as you would treat a friend, because so many studies show that we all treat our friends so much nicer than we treat ourselves. And it's crazy.
Yeah.
True.
I'm reading a book right now, and it has to do with like toxic thoughts and like all this stuff. And in her book, they were doing this study or whatever, and you think like, I don't know, 13,000 thoughts a day or something like that. And in it said like above 70% of those are usually negative and about yourself. And I'm like, when I read that, I was like, that's actually probably true. Like, even if it's the smallest thing of like, oh my God, I don't like my hair today. Like, that's negative. Like, and of course, like, we're all going to think them, but I think it's how you react to them. I think it's if you let it actually like, and you start believing it, or if you have the negative thought, you have that bad moment and you're like, okay, this sucks. Like, I'm going to have a bad hair day. And then you move on from it. Do you know what I mean? Like,
it's like we can think of those little thoughts as like this red dot that we just want to pop or something. Like, notice that negative thought, pop it, zap it, whatever you need to do.
Yeah.
And then rearrange it to a positive thought.
Yeah. I think a lot of people like suppress them too. Like, they'll just like, they won't actually feel that like negative thought. So they'll be like, okay, like, I'm fine. And then it just like all piles up and you're like, oh my God. Like, I think that's another part, is like, I was always told that I was like too sensitive, too emotional. Like, I'm a very sensitive person, like, in general. And again, I thought that was a bad thing. Like, I literally thought like, I mean, even if just it was like a brother or sister that was like, stop being so sensitive. And I'm like, but why? Like, why do I have to stop feeling like when I feel things, like I feel them so deep, and like, do I want to feel sad that deep? No, nobody wants to feel it, but I'm like, I don't understand why it's bad for me to feel it this deep and okay for you like not to feel it that deep, but you're right. Do you know what I mean? So I'm
And
like,
those people who tell you that are the ones that are probably suffering the most just
yeah,
because they repress their feelings
uh-huh.
and they're like a bottle with the cap on and it's never going to open. And then
I
over time,
know.
they're going to explode.
Yeah.
And I think there's so much power in being able to feel, Lon. And I think
Yeah.
that's a really good thing about you. And I know you don't need my
Yeah.
validation, but
It's great to hear, you know.
yes, yeah. But for
Yeah.
other people listening, I think it's so powerful to be like, wow, I'm sad right now. And the fact that you allow yourself to feel sad
Yeah.
is where the healing comes.
Exactly.
I
And
mean,
it's
eat
like,
that ice cream, be sad, cry.
yeah.
Call me, I
And
can
then
cry with you. Like,
exactly. And then like get yourself out of it. Like in no
yes.
way am I saying like it's okay to constantly feel that way. Of course not. But you also have to find like how you get out of it personally. And
Mhm.
again, like there's a whole like it's also okay to feel happy and feel success and feel like good about yourself. Like
Oh,
that's
yeah.
like it's so weird. Like we can't be sad, but we can't be too happy for ourselves because then that's like be our ego. And I'm like, what do you want from a society? Like, what do you want
I know.
from us right now? Like,
That's where the part of
yeah.
authenticity comes in
Mhm.
because you kind of have that balance. Like you were
Yeah.
saying, okay, there's a fine line between being selfish,
Mhm.
and taking care of myself. And if
Yeah.
you don't take care of yourself, you're not going to be able to do the things that you do or go teach dance or go
Exactly.
fly off of a wall into the
Yeah.
splits. Like you're not going to be able to do those things if you
Yeah.
don't take care of right here
Yeah.
first. I
Yeah.
mean, that's scientifically proven.
I think I started to notice those things too, though, when I started to like value myself and like my time more and being aware of the people that were around me. Do you know what I
Mhm.
mean? And I
And I
think,
think so too, Lon, with the people
yeah.
pleasing, because almost all of us are or have
Oh,
been at
we
one point.
all are, yeah.
And
Yeah.
so with that, it sounds like that the fact that you found that you can take care of yourself and
Mhm.
it didn't really affect anyone else.
Yeah.
Because people are half the time thinking of themselves anyway. They're not thinking about anyone. They're all thinking
Exactly.
about themselves. They're not thinking
Yeah.
about us as much as we think. And
Yeah.
the fact that you realized, okay, I'm just going to tell them, hey, I'm really tired. I want to sleep in my bed and eat ice cream right now. It's nothing personal to you, but
Yeah.
I'm just tired.
Yeah.
It's like almost you get more respect from them when
And
you tell them the
more,
truth.
like 99% of the time, people are like, cool, okay. Like maybe the 1% of like, if you did like, I don't know, bail on something, of course they're gonna be annoyed. Like,
Yeah.
but like it's 99% of the time, I think we all just need to like realize that like it's okay. And like you said,
Yeah.
like it's the balance of everything. So like,
Absolutely.
yeah, I mean, obviously I'm still working on it every single day of my life, but
Yeah.
I think also when like I'm vocal about it and like people know that like that's the way I want to live, like the people around me also want to do that. So then it helps because we're all like on the same page of trying to
Yeah.
find that. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So
Absolutely. Gosh, these are great lessons, Lon. This is good. This is a good talk.
thank you. It also just is not talked about enough
Mm-hmm.
in a
That's
way.
very true.
It's weird. It is talked about, but it's like it's the way it's talked about. It's very just like to the point, and it's never like digging deep into the way you need to feel about it. You know what I mean? It's just kind of like, yeah, be happy. And you're like, okay.
I know. Be happy, eat green juice,
Sure.
run, go on runs, walk your dog. It's like, no, I'm not basic. Like there's things that happen in my life that are not gonna like
Yeah, no, I get that. But
so
that's like what it is. So then people are like, okay, that's all it is. And I'm like, no, that's
no.
not all it is. But I think everybody can find it. I think also people have to do it on their own. Like I can like
Yes.
put like not push, but I can like want things for people all the time. But at the end of the day, like you can't do it for them.
You, Lonni, made a beautiful body image dance that gave me the chills, and everyone I know the chills. I've sent it to everyone I know because it's really touching and it hits home. And it spreads a wonderful message just to love yourself. I know there's a lot of people struggling with body image issues. And so I'm curious if we can talk about that in your journey with it, overcoming body image issues.
Yeah, I can talk about this all the time just because I'm like really passionate about it. But I would say, long story short, probably around when I was like 15, 16, if you're a dancer or a gymnast or something, a model, something that you are constantly looking at yourself in a mirror, I think we all need to realize right away that the everyday person who works in an office doesn't do that. It's already not normal to stare at yourself in a mirror for 8+ hours. Like it's
That's
not
so true
at all. And I think nobody really talks about that. Obviously, when you're a dance class, the teacher's job is to critique you. That's what it is. Of course, I understand that. But especially me growing into being a teacher and stuff, I've realized that there has to be a balance of giving critiques and then telling good compliments and turning away from the mirror and actually feeling things and whatnot. So I think obviously I didn't know that at age 15 and 16, and I constantly looking at myself in the mirror. I was already taking dance like very, very seriously at the time, and there was things happening to me that obviously like people didn't know about because I decided not to talk about it. I was bullied by a group of girls, and I didn't know it though. Like I knew they were mean to me, but all I wanted was to be their friend and was their approval. Like at the end of the day, it was the weirdest thing. And even my parents didn't really know about it because, as we said earlier, like we lived at the studio, like you lived there. And so when you went home, you were just ready for bed. Like there was no talking. And the thing is like I did not have a bad teenage year. There was no way. But the things that were said to me were bad, but I think what were said behind my back were even worse. Like the rumors that were happening and all this stuff, which was basically about me getting very thin. And at the time, I didn't even notice it. Like I really didn't. I went to a private Catholic school, so I was at school from 7 to 3, and then we went to dance from 3 to 10. Like I had no life in general, which is fine. I chose that and I love it, and I would never take anything away from that. But I'm also just like, I'm constantly doing things. My body is changing in general. So the fact that I was losing weight was, at the start of it, was genuinely just what was happening. I was eating, I was doing everything fine. Like there was no concern from anybody at all. And then there were some rumors started about me that, of course, that I wasn't eating, I was throwing up, like all this stuff. And sorry if this is too much information, but
no, the information is good. I think self-disclosure helps people feel, one, that they're not alone. And Lon, I went through that too. I have a lot to say to the bullies out there. And I know what it's like, and it's hard.
So those rumors, I started to believe. It was the weirdest thing. And I didn't realize it until I look back at it now that I did. I was hearing them so much, and I was almost defending myself so much that I was just like, no one was believing me. So at that point I was like, I'm just going to do it then. Like, okay. Like I, of course I'm not eating. You're telling me I'm not eating. So okay. Then I'm not going to eat. Like,
how interesting.
It was really weird. And the thing is I never stopped eating. I was so particular and knew exactly what I could eat and how much I could eat. And still I was weighing myself every day. I would sneak into my parents' room and I would just weigh myself in their bathroom. And I would, as long as I didn't pass between like 118 and 120, I got into this cycle probably for like 3 years where I would literally eat the same exact things that like so bland. But then I would have like these days where I would just like binge like everything, anything and everything that was in sight. I was like, oh my God, this is great. Then I would feel so bad about myself because I was in the cycle of like, I can only eat these things. Then I would go and eat these things and I'm like, wait, I can't do that. But like I could have, but I couldn't in my mind. In my mind, I was like, this is wrong. I cannot do this.
You're really restricting yourself and controlling what you're.
Yes. So this happened for, I would say probably like two years, like consistently. And then and the thing is people, yes, noticed it. And the thing is nobody ever, which is why I'm so passionate about it, is because I know people noticed it because the way people need to be aware of how you approach these things. Because when I was doing this, if you walk up to me and say, why aren't you eating? What are you doing? You need to eat more. That's not going to help. I'm not going to do that. And I'm going to take that as like, you're telling me to do that? Okay, then I'm not going to do it. And I say this all the time, like, you do not understand it. And I get that you don't understand it until you're living it. But that's why I think it needs to be brought up. Body image needs to be talked about earlier in life, especially in young artists' life. Even if like you don't think it's you, it might be. You know what I mean? Like it. So
I never thought I would. I'm like, oh, that'll never happen to me.
No. So yeah, so that happened, and then finally one day I genuinely, it wasn't even like a big like revelation or anything. It was literally, I woke up one day and I was like, I don't know why I'm doing this. I don't know. The thing is, I never got to a point where I was like, no, I was unhealthy 100%, but I could still do everything. So I thought I was healthy. Do you know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean. I lived that. I
could easily go through my days, go to dance, go to school, and be completely fine. But I wasn't. There was no way I was healthy. And fast forward 9 years, it took me 9 years to be comfortable enough to talk about it. And the reason I made this video and everything was because I travel everywhere to like teach and everything. And there's been multiple times that were in a row at different studios and nobody really knew about this. Honestly, even my siblings, like until I released this video, nobody really knew how bad it got.
See, and isn't that crazy? Like you talked about, we're not aware or we approach it really wrong. Like, oh, look how skinny you are. Or, oh, why aren't you eating? Did you eat today?
And like kind of off topic, but I genuinely dislike the word skinny. I don't like that word. And I think it's because it's a little bit of a trigger for me because people were always like, you're so skinny, you're skinny. And I'm like, skinny and fat, those are horrible words. They are. Like you can say fit, you can say curvy, you can say positive words that aren't going to think like, oh my God, like you cannot be skinny. Like it's weird. So I always encourage people not to use those words, you know what I mean? And so anyways, I was going through these studios or whatever. And so at the time, nobody knew really about this. And these random dancers, different studios, this happened 4 times in a row, would come up to me and talk to me about how they're struggling and they're either have a lot of anxiety and they're not eating, or they're depressed and they're eating too much. And like, I didn't even know these kids at all. And I don't even know. And I'm like a very big person on faith. So I just thought it was one of like God's millions of ways of like using me, you know what I mean? And so they were doing this, and I was actually in North Carolina, and I was talking to someone that was going through it, and it was hard. And I just was like in my hotel room, and I went to the studio the next day, and I like told the studio owner, I was like, I'm gonna go home and make this video. And she was like, okay, cool. And I was like, but there was one of the girls there that like came and did it like with me. And I just was just like, I'm gonna do it. And I think the only reason I told her, she didn't care, but the only reason I told her was because I think I needed to say it out loud for me to actually do it. And I literally that night texted all of the girls, all of them were my friends. And I was kind of like, I didn't really tell them what it was about. I was literally just like, you know what, like the right people will be in this. If they want to do it, they'll do it. If not, it's great. Of course, it happened to be like all of my closest friends, everybody that like I love and adore so much. I texted
That's
them.
so meant to be. That's so unforced and just natural.
Yeah. So I texted them all that night. I said, okay, like I got home maybe 2 days later and I was like, this is the rehearsal day. And then we're shooting it the next day. We literally did 1 day of rehearsal and I taught it to them. And it was like, they all walked in and I basically like started crying and I was like, I'm just like ready to share this. And it was more of like me accepting it and moving on from it, like you said. And they were all like, even my best friends were just like, we didn't even know. And I'm like, that's the thing though. I don't need people to know. It wasn't a thing. I'm not expressing this for pity. That's not what I'm expressing about at all. And I told them that. I said, the reason I'm expressing this is because I just had the youngest girl that said something to me was 12. And I was like, I've had 4 people already come up to me and I've never even expressed that I've dealt with this myself. And I was like, I just want to like, if I can help literally one person, that is like all I want to do. Like, that's great. And that is fantastic. And so I told them we did 1 day of rehearsal. The next day we filmed it and it was like so emotional. I was actually really scared to do it because that song was obviously so used in like dance competition and everything. And I just like constantly would just like listen to it. And I was like, this is literally my life. Like it is actually my life and I need to express it how I want to express it. So I finally did it. I was shaking the day that I like literally put it out. And the funny thing is, so I showed my parents first because I was like, I just needed them to know that I was going to do this and like put it out into the world. Do you know what I mean? And
you're being very vulnerable, Lonni,
yeah.
which is looked down upon on a lot of people, but that's how you heal.
Yeah.
We need to feel.
Exactly. So obviously they were like so proud of me. So then I put it out and whatever, and I didn't look at my phone for like a day and a half because I was like, I can't do it. Like, out there, like it is what it is, like whatever. And obviously the response was fantastic. There was a few comments that bothered me and I DM'd them personally instead of commenting back. And just one, for example, was like, but why are you guys talking about it if you guys are all skinny? And funny, I actually had a very nice conversation with this person and I was basically like,
civil.
This is what is wrong because it's wrong for us to be this, but you need us to. And the thing is what people don't know, of course, is that every single person in that video, I have a special connection with.
Which is why it made it so special. Yeah, like when you said they all walked in and you cried. Yeah. What an impeccable experience, Lonni. Yeah. Super vibey.
That's what I explained to him. It wasn't me just like hiring dancers or anything like that. It was me. I was very specific on who I asked. I did not just ask somebody who I didn't feel like I could share this with. And anyways, it turned out to be obviously a great thing. But so it was weird once I like posted that and stuff, the amount of people and like messages that like I got about like, I had no idea, like you said, no awareness that I even dealt with this at all. And again, I don't blame anybody for it because at the end of the day, I did this. Were there things that brought me to it? Yes, 110%. And I don't think that's a bad thing to acknowledge at all. I think anybody who goes through any type of eating disorder, I deal with anxiety every single day in my life. I have very bad anxiety and I will have anxiety attacks. I've gotten better, but I'll have like an anxiety attack maybe like once a month. And there's things that make these things happen in a way.
Triggers.
And people don't wake up and say, this is what I want to do to myself. Like there's something in your brain. And we were talking earlier about like therapy and stuff. And I see a therapist. I do. And I'm totally okay with that. And it's helped me tremendously. These kinds of diseases and like disorders and anxiety and like depression and stuff, they don't go away. And that's okay, but you can learn to live with it and you can learn to have a higher power over it. And I have a fantastic relationship with food. Like I love food now. Like I love it. I know my thing is, and I've realized this, and my therapist has helped me realize this, is that I need to feel good. So if one cookie is going to make me feel good, I'm going to eat it. And if I look in the mirror and I start thinking that I don't look good, it doesn't matter, because if I feel good, then that should beat it. And it's hard because of course you want to be healthy, right? And I take care of my body. Like Zach, we're very good about like taking our vitamins and like, especially now, and like everything, like we want to be healthy, but it's when especially I start depriving myself of things that I enjoy, that's when one will like either trigger me, or I'm like, but why can't I enjoy this? Because other people say that like this cookie, like, and people also need to realize eating one cookie is not going to do anything to you. Just like eating one salad is not going to help you in any way. I genuinely think it's all about balance and all about finding what works for you. And that's it. Like the same, I'm not a huge fan of like dieting. My dad does this, he kind of just calls it a lifestyle. So he doesn't call it a diet, because at the end of the day, you want to be doing it every day. So that's what you want to like do in your life. And so I agree with that. You just call it a lifestyle.
It's so true, Lon, especially because a lot of the trends or the green juice diets or whatever is out there, it's not really a lifestyle. Like maybe they'll lose weight for a week and they'll be happy for a week.
Exactly.
But it sounds like therapy has really helped you with that. It helped me tremendously with it. Like you say, tremendously. That's a really good tactic that you said, to think about it. Okay, how does it make me feel? Because food is our fuel. If I mean, I need to dance for 2 hours tonight. How am I gonna, and it sounds like eating in moderation has really helped you. Like, okay, I'll eat the brownie. Okay. And I'll eat the salad. I'm not going to eat 50 brownies, but moderation. It seems like it's really the healthiest.
Yeah. There's so many body types. Number one, I don't like sometimes how social media and stuff will like, and I think it's actually gotten better, where it shows a million body types and it's all great and stuff, but I think it's still hard, especially for like people who've dealt with it, that there's like this one body type in your head that it's like, that's what I need to be like at all times. And it's like, when I accepted that, like, okay, like my body's not always going to be like this. Like when we were in quarantine, I was eating everything in sight and I was fine. Like it was fine. I was happy. We were with my family. Like the seasons, like you just have to like accept that, like sometimes you're going to feel great about yourself and like sometimes you're not, but it's the getting out of it and not staying in that. It's not staying in the like, oh my God, I don't like how I look. Like, so bringing it back to staring at yourself in the mirror all the time. So instead of staring at yourself in the mirror and picking apart yourself in so many negative ways, add 5 positive things in there about you. You don't stand in a mirror ever, even when you're getting ready. Even this morning when I was getting ready, you're not going to stand in the mirror and be like, my gosh, my eyebrows look fantastic today. Like you don't naturally do that unless you like train yourself to, you know what I mean? Like,
yes.
And I am like a huge person on like, I don't really wear like that much makeup anyways, but I also think like, if that makes you feel good, wear it. I think I wanted to just like release something where like, I mean, and the song and the lyrics and everything like was just insane. Like the way she wrote that, I'm just like, how did that even? But it's because she dealt with it herself. Like we just and I'm always telling people, I'm like, you never know what people are going through. Ever. You never know the full story. Ever. Even if it's the happiest person in the world, you have no idea at all.
Yes, everyone's got their things. And
Exactly.
honestly, I would be really appalled if you didn't, because how
Yeah.
else would you be human? I mean, things happen. Life
Yeah.
sometimes is out of our control. Evolution, it sounded like it was just an evolution. Like you said, you didn't wake up, oh, I'm going to starve myself. Oh, I'm going to
No.
it's an evolution of things that kind of just stack on top. And eventually you get sick, but you sought out help, Lon,
Yeah.
and you conquered it, and you're still working on it. I mean, I'll be 100 one day and probably still working on things, and I don't
Yeah.
care. Who
Yeah.
cares?
Yeah. And I think it's hard, like for me personally, just also being a dancer in the industry and whatnot, it gets hard on you just because of the industry in general. And I think once people, and I talk to my friends about this all the time, once you realize like, yeah, you're wrong for these 25 jobs, but then you're going to be the right one for these 5 jobs. And that just happens. And that's the industry. But I think what happens is a lot of us let that control us. And then we just think we're not good enough. The amount of people that just friends I know that were, dancing professionally or whatever, and it just kind of took a toll on them and they moved home, and like, that's fine. There is a way. Like, I feel like sometimes the industry has this like bad thing of like, oh my God, it's hard. Like, of course it's hard. It's a career. Like, you have to put effort into it. And
Everything's going to be hard. If you want to go be a dentist, that'll be hard too. Everything.
Everything's going to be hard. But I think not letting like the right look, like that's the thing, is you have to have the right look. It's like, no, be yourself. You're fine. You're good enough. And somebody will also want that. You know what I mean? Like there's
the right people will. And Lon, you're a great example of that. You have proved that to be true.
Yeah. And there was obviously like so many other things that stemmed, and like I could think of a million other things that kind of made me go into that little dark time in my life. And I think the more, like, every time I talk about it, I will feel something. Like even right now, like I feel like a little bit, not even emotional, but like there's like this like gut, like something, you know what I mean? Like something is in me, and it just like, I don't see it as a bad time in my life anymore. I don't. I see it as like I did this. I'm learning from it every single day of my life. And I'm also now like expressing to people that like, you have to accept yourself, because if you don't accept yourself, why should you expect other people to? Why do you expect other people to love? And people will love you and everything, but if you can't love yourself, like you can't expect that from other people. You know what I mean? And I genuinely think you can't give it to other people the way you could if you accepted yourself and loved yourself. Like, I think the most genuine people are the most loving and compassionate people. And I think everybody has that capability. I could have easily let this take over my life 110%. Easily. And I could not be sitting here talking to you right now. And I think a lot of people like don't share it, but a lot of people will go through hard times and then get out of it, but then just move on instead of like talking about it. And like, I think if people shared like their hardships, it would just push other people to be like, okay, I can get through whatever, even if it's the smallest thing. I feel like it doesn't even have to be like this big thing that like I went through. It could just be a tiny thing that you're dealing with acne or something. I think some people just think like, oh, you're fine now. It's like, I'm fine now, yes, but it's still a part of me. And like, I'm okay with that. I'm okay that like something like this happened to me, because I also think it needed to, in a way, because I was such a people pleaser. I mean, and you knew that. You grew up with me. Like I would do anything for the people who taught us, and I didn't see it. I genuinely didn't. I would just be like, yes, okay, yes. Even if it was affecting me, I would just be like, I'm fine. No, I can do it. I'll do it for you, even if it wasn't making me happy. And so I think secretly God was like, you need to check out for a sec. You need to figure out yourself and just like it was a wake-up call, 110%. I genuinely think if this didn't happen to me, so I wouldn't be pursuing like the career I am now. Like I really wouldn't. I am so like, okay, I'm gonna do this now. Half the
Mm-hmm.
people that thought I couldn't do it and that you spread all these, okay, you just watch me now. So I
Yeah.
think that's helped me in a lot of ways. And the amount of people and friends that I've talked to that maybe not to this extent, but of course have dealt with things like this and body
Mhm.
stuff and anything is endless. I think there's such a negative connotation with like, oh my God, like it's body image. We have to be subtle about this. And I'm like, why? Just like talk about it. Like it's okay. And if like people don't agree with it, it's fine. I think the more you talk about it, the more like even when I like hear some of the things I say, I'm like, wait, I need to actually apply that to my life because I'm
Mhm.
like, I need to listen to that. Or like you'll say something and I'm like, wait, you're right. Like I have to apply
Mhm.
that with my life too. And so I think the biggest thing was I wanted to put it into something that was going to like last forever. Like I wanted to put it into a video or something that was like, even though I filmed it, what, 5 months ago or something now, it's still relevant. You know what I mean? And I think that was one of
Absolutely.
the biggest things I strived for was like, I need something that even if I'm 7 years older from now, I can still go back to this and it could be relevant for someone else that's my age now. You know what I mean? So
Absolutely. And I think it's so needed. And like you said, talking about it and your journey, Lon, gosh, I'm so proud of you. And I understand a lot that you went through. I, I mean your stories with authenticity. So we're all gonna go get authenticity tattoos now.
we
And
can all get matching ones.
yeah, we'll get matching ones now and be authentic and just not care so much about comparing and how you found your way and how you realize that self-love is so important
Mhm.
in being able to do life.
Yeah.
And like the little tips that you said, there's a way to
Yeah.
go through the dance industry without thinking, but I don't have the look. There,
Yeah.
no, get rid of that.
Yeah.
It's a negative thought. We're gonna reframe it. Remember, like
Yeah.
earlier we talked about?
Yeah.
Yes. So it's kind of like you say there's a way, and there is, and you're living proof of that. And then your body image dance was beautiful and it's so touching. And I think it's really a really needed project that you did, Lon, and how
Thank
you
you.
went to a therapist and they helped you get tools to come up, you know, you guys came up with solutions on your own, that you
Yeah.
figured it out.
Okay thing. Like there's no, for anybody watching, like there's no negative connotation to going to talk to somebody at all. Like
Yes, I
if you
hear.
feel the need, like, because before that I'd write in a journal. People tell you to do that all the time, write in a journal, blah, blah, blah.
Mhm.
But it's different. It's different, like expressing and just like feeling, because even sometimes I'll say something and then it comes out, I'll think it, okay? So then I'll say it and then I'll be like, I don't believe that at all. Or I don't know why I'm thinking that. Or you know what I mean? Like I'll literally say something and I'll be like, but I wouldn't have said that to just like, anyone. I feel the freedom to just say whatever. And then I'll back up and I'll be like, I don't like that I just said that. I don't believe that at all. You know what I mean? But that's
Mhm.
also like learning like that you have all of these thoughts and you have to just like kind of just like get them out sometimes.
It sounds like that you've really learned that, okay, I have this thought,
Mhm.
and then you choose to believe it or not.
Yep.
Because it's not you, it's a thought. We think a
Yep.
million a day, and you choose. And that's a really great tactic to teach other
Yeah.
people. Mhm.
Yeah, I think it's definitely that and realizing that people will like you and people won't like you. and like that's life, and
That's okay.
what it is. And it just like you, like just like me, I'll like people and I won't like people. Like, is what it is. Does that mean you have to be mean to people? No. Be kind. Like you can still be kind to somebody and maybe not agree with how they,
Yes.
once I start talking about it, there's all these like thoughts in my head and like I need to get every single one out. I think it's just because I am really passionate about it now.
Yes, and I think that's a good thing. And I can
Yeah.
follow along. We can follow
Yeah.
along. The key things that I got from it were look at ourselves in the mirror and talk about 5 things that we love about ourselves.
Yeah, like it's so easy. Is it
It's
cheesy?
so
Of
easy.
course, but who cares? Like,
Who
who
cares?
cares if you're cliche and who cares? Like some
Yeah,
of the
let's be
best
real.
things. Yeah.
Let's be real. Enough
Yes.
with the green juices, enough with the I'm not the look. It sounds like with the dance industry, you've by being real and being yourself, it's led you in places where you have just soared, Lon. I mean, I'm so
Yeah.
proud of you. You've just soared. And with the body image factor, it sounds like it was something that you have a lot of importance with accepting it and
Yeah.
talking about it. Seems
Yeah.
like it's a big deal for you and that it's
Yeah.
helped you and a
It
lot of
helped
other people.
a lot. The fact that it's taken me like this long too. Of course, like I've lived my life like these past 9 years, like I've lived it, but I didn't notice how, or I didn't know how much it needed to just like be released. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? That
Until
was
you
like
do
the
it.
biggest thing. Yeah. So yeah, I just think if I could help literally, like I said, like one person, it's all I want.
So
Like it's
be it.
something, you know what I mean? Like I think
Yeah.
that's what we all want too. Like we want to be there for each other, and it's hard with social media and stuff like that. So even sometimes I will like, even like I haven't seen you in so long, but I feel like I know your life a little bit because of social media. And I think we get a little too caught up in that. And then we don't check in on our friends and we don't make the effort to stay in touch and we don't do these things when it's like, you can't just rely on that. And we do. We are all so reliant on like, oh, I know what they're doing. I saw what they were doing. Okay, I don't need to check in on them. Like, I think I'm obviously working on that too, where I'm like, okay, like, yeah, I know your life, but like, I don't. I don't know. I don't know what you're doing. So I think we all need to learn not to be reliant in that aspect too. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yes.
Thank you. It felt so
This
good.
was
Like I love talking about it.
I know it feels good, huh?
Yeah.
Speaking of talking about things and being
Yeah.
accepting, it feels so good to talk about it.
Yeah. You can ask me about any part of my life and I'm like, you know what? Yep. This is what happened to me and here it is. Like I'm so open about it.
That is awesome because I think it normalizes things for a lot of other people and
Yeah.
lets people know it's not just them. They're not alone.
Yeah.
We've all got our things and this is normal that our bodies do weird things, our minds do weirder things.
Yeah. And I think that last thing was like once you learn how to like not control your mind, but that your mind does have a lot of control in your life. Like if you are constantly thinking these negative things, you will start to believe them and you will start living that. But like the mind, like you said, the mind is so powerful. It's insane. Like
We can choose. We don't have to listen to it. Nah.
yeah, exactly.
Or we can,
Right. Like, but you gotta choose.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But Lon, I could talk to you forever. This was
I know.
so
Thank you so much. I really just like I felt like I like, when you like your mouth is going faster than your brain. That's what
Yes.
it felt like. I was like, oh my God.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
I'll see you soon, okay?
Yes.